All rise.
Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning. Madam Court Officer, could you please call the case?
Good morning, Your Honors. This is case KAC BC 2020-05, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Salih Mustafa.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. First of all, I will call the appearances. Mr. Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, everybody. The prosecution team is represented today by Silvia Dascoli, the Associate Prosecutor, Julie Mann, the Case Manager, and myself, Cezary Michalczuk, the Prosecutor.
Thank you. Victims' Counsel, you have the floor.
Good morning, Your Honours. Good morning, everybody. The participating victims are today represented by myself, Annie Poes, as Victims' Counsel. Thank you.
Thank you. And Defense Counsel, you have the floor.
Good morning, Your Honor. The defense is represented by myself, Julius von Monet, Betim Shala is my co-counsel, Fatmir Pralai is investigator interpreter, and Mr. Avdim Ahmeti is our investigator. Joining us via remote is Mr. Mustafa.
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Mustafa, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Record, you are appearing in front of trial panel 1. The panel recalls that Mr. Mustafa had expressed the intention to make an unsworn statement pursuant to Rule 142, paragraph 1 of the rules. As recently as on the 12th of April 2022, Mr. Mustafa, through his defense counsel, had also confirmed his willingness to answer to the panel's questions, if any, subject, of course, to his right to remain silent. Mr. Mustafa, the reason why the panel intended to put questions to you was inter alia to try to clarify what happened back then in April 1999 and what your role, if any, was within the framework of the confirmed indictment. And the questions the panel would have put to you should have been seen in that light. By filing 410, which was regrettably made less than 24 hours before today's hearing, the defense informed that Mr. Mustafa has reconsidered his position and will not give an unsworn statement, nor will he answer any questions by the panel. Accordingly, the unsworn statement, pursuant to Rule 142 of the rules and related procedures, will no longer take place. Defense Counsel, is there anything you would like to say in this regard?
Your Honor, one thing that I would like to say is that if we would have known the position of reconsideration before, we would have done it earlier. But it is how it is and how it went. So that is what I want to say about that issue.
Thank you, Defense Counsel. Nonetheless, we are having a hearing today because the panel has some oral orders to issue. So, the first oral order requires a private session, and Madam Court Officer, could you bring us please into private session?
Your Honors, we're back in open session.
Thank you. Okay, the second oral order is as follows. Defense counsel, the panel assumes that you no longer have any evidence to present and therefore that the closure of the defense case is still scheduled to take place on the 26th of May?
We estimate indeed that would be the case. There is a slight issue that we are thinking about, but I think that it will be the 26th, Your Honor.
Could you say something more about that slight issue? Because we are really coming to an end, so at least we are trying to do a lot of planning. So I heard some doubts.
A 99% chance that it is the 26th that we will close the case.
Okay.
It's just.
Okay. Defense counsel, I would request, we have set the date as we have set it, but if you know any earlier that there is a request, please don't wait till that date. Yeah?
I will certainly not do so. I will do that even if it would occur, probably tomorrow or so. But
Okay.
we assume it will be the 26th. So.
Thank you for that. Now, my remark had nothing to do with the closing of the case, but if there would be anything, you would like to present to the panel or make a request in that regard, that I intend to say that please do that ASAP. Very well. Then I direct myself to the SPO. Because the oral order is directed to the SPO. The panel further notes that Rule 127, paragraph 2 of the rules provide, unless otherwise directed by the panel, that after the evidence of the defense and the evidence of the panel, if any, the SPO may, with the leave of the panel, present evidence in rebuttal, followed by the evidence in rejoinder by the defense, and also subject to the panel's leave. Considering that the panel is still deliberating as to whether to introduce evidence in accordance with the Rule 132 of the rules, the panel requests at this stage the SPO to file its request to present evidence in rebuttal, if any, by Tuesday, 23rd of May, with responses, if any, by the Defense and Victims' Counsel by Thursday, 26th of May. And if there would be a request, and if leave is granted, and after hearing such evidence, if any, the defense will be requested to file a similar request for its evidence in rejoinder, if any. Should the SPO wish to present additional evidence in rebuttal following any evidence to be presented by the panel, pursuant to Rule 132 of the rules, it shall indicate as soon as possible after the panel has introduced its evidence. Yes. And this concludes the second oral order. As for the scheduling of our court hearings, tomorrow morning we will not have a hearing, of course, I would say. Next week, no hearings will take place. And the sitting schedule for the month of June will be communicated through CMU. However, parties and Victims' Counsel are requested to keep themselves available for the 1st, the 2nd, and the 8th of June as possible dates for hearings. And what was supposed to be a complete hearing day is now already almost finalizing. But before we do that, I would like to ask the parties and the Victims' Council if there's anything to raise. Mr. Prosecutor.
Your Honor, there's nothing else to raise.
Okay, thank you. And Victims' Council?
No, Your Honours, nothing. Thank you.
Okay. Defense Counsel?
No, Your Honor, we have nothing else to raise.
Thank you. And on a non-hearing note, but good to see you in court again. Very well. Then I thank the parties and the Victims' Council for their attendance today. I also wish to thank the interpreters and the audiovisual booth and the security and the stenographer for their assistance this morning. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise.